Hello and welcome to week 38 of the Ray of Hope Crochet Along. This week we're making the half double crochet fan stitch. This is a really pretty stitch. You don't really see very often, but it's thick but lacy at the same time. So it's a really nice one to make. So how do we make it?
So we're going to be using a 4mm hook for this one, and we're going to start with a chain of 80. Okay, so in the third chain from your hook, you're going to make a single crochet. So that turning chain is going to count as your first single crochet. So then you're going to chain 3, 2, 3. You're going to skip 3, and then in that next stitch you're going to single crochet. Okay, and then you're going to repeat this across the row. So chain 3, skip 3, and then single crochet in the next stitch. So chain 3, skip 3 chains, and then the next chain make a single crochet. I should repeat that all the way across the row. So you're going to end up with these single crochets, chain space, single crochet, chain space, all the way across. So I'm going to carry on with that, and I shall see you when we get to the end of the row. Okay, so I'm at the end of the row, and I've done my last single crochet after the chain 3, and I've got 1 stitch left. And in that last stitch I'm just going to make a single crochet. And that's row 1 complete. So you just have all these little windows open. Okay, so now I'm going to turn. So for row 2, we start by chaining 1. I'm going to make the alternate turning stitch in the first stitch. Get my words out then. Okay. So in the next stitch we're going to make a half double crochet. Right. So in the same stitch we're going to make 7 half double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now we're going to skip the chain space, and we're going to single crochet in that single crochet stitch in the row below. Okay, and that brings all these half double crochet into that shell. These will start to twist later. Okay. Right, so after that single crochet we're going to chain 1. In the same stitch as this single crochet we're going to make 7 half double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Then we're going to skip the chain space and single crochet in the single crochet stitch. Then chain 1. And we're going to repeat this pattern all the way down the row. So what happens is that these kind of butt up against each other, and they'll start to kind of sit staggered like this. So it almost looks like everything's on an angle, slanted, all the way down. So the half double crochet are always made into that chain 1 stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. And then skip the chain space, single crochet into the single crochet stitch, chain 1 and then make your half double crochet, 7 of them, all in that same stitch. Okay, and then you will start to get this folded up staggered look as we go down. So I'm going to carry on with that, and I shall see you when I get to the end of the row. Okay, so I'm at the end of the row, and I've done my last single crochet and chain 1, which leaves me 1 stitch left. And in that last stitch I'm going to make a half double crochet. Just take that out. There we go. And that finishes the row. And as you can see, there's basically too many stitches for these to fit, so they just start to bunch up and overlap each other. Okay, so you can see this there, and they sort of make a wedge shape, so there's more on one side than the other. So it's quite a textured stitch, and the way they sit. Okay, so that was row 2. So for row 3 we turn, chain 1 and make a single crochet in that first stitch. There we go. Just pop a stitch marker in. And we're going to make a single crochet into the top of the single crochet. So skip the chain 1 and then single crochet in the single crochet stitch. Okay, so what we're going to do now is essentially a repeat of row 1. We're going to chain 3, we're going to skip all the half double crochet, okay, and we pull apart between the 2, and we're going to make a single crochet in the single crochet stitch. And then you just push that chain behind your fans, and this will help them stick out and sit on top of each other more neatly. Okay, so chain 3, skip all the half double crochet, and just pull them apart to find your single crochet and then single crochet. Okay, and then push the chain 3 behind the half double crochet. You can see how they're now standing out more. So 1, 2, chain of 3, pull those fans apart and into the single crochet, make a single crochet and then push that behind the fan, and they'll all start to sit more neatly now. Okay, so carry that all the way down the row. Okay. And I shall see you at the end of this row. Okay, so at the end of row 3, and if you can see that they're really popping up now. It's a very 3D effect. If I should turn here, so this is the bottom, and you can see how they're popping up. Your chain 3s are sitting on the back. You can see how they're really coming out now. So a really nice 3D effect. Okay, so at the end of the row, after you've done your last chain 3 and single crochet, you'll have 1 stitch left, and you're going to single crochet in that last stitch. Okay, so the pattern for the rest of the piece is essentially a repeat of rows 2 and 3. Okay, so you're going to be working into these chain 3s again for the next row. Okay, so I'll start that row. So we're going to chain 1 and we're going to make the alternate turning chain in the first stitch. Okay, so it's going to feel like you're going a bit funny here. Here's the first stitch, make the alternate turning chain, drop a stitch marker in there. Okay, and in the next stitch, which is a single crochet, you're going to make a half double crochet. And in that same stitch, you're going to make another 7 half double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. You're going to skip the chain 3 and make a single crochet in that single crochet stitch and chain 1. Then you're going to make 7 half double crochet all in the same stitch. So this is exactly the same as row 2. 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. It's going to feel a bit odd because of because this chain is sticking so far behind the fans from the previous row. It's going to feel a bit weird. If I turn it over, they're going to sit behind. Okay, so the ones from row below, they're going to really stick out in front. Okay, and your piece is going to end up going diagonally. So these edges are really going to feel like they're going slanting. That's okay, that's normal for this stitch. It's just how everything sits with the stitches having this 3D effect. Okay, so you carry on with that all the way down the row. So it's exactly the same as row 2, and you're working into this row that sits behind all these fans. Okay, so it's perfectly fine that it feels like you're working so far behind the stitches, if that makes sense. But you just do it exactly the same way. Okay, so the pattern for the rest of this piece is that there are 11 rows, and you're going to repeat rows 2 and 3. Okay, so you're going to have several sets of these just sitting one on top of the other. So just a nice 2-row repeat. And again, don't be alarmed if you see the edges slanting out. That's supposed to happen. Okay, so I'm going to carry on with that, and I shall see you once I finish row 11, and I'll show you what you're doing for the slip stitch border. I'll see you then. Okay, so I finished all 11 rows of the half double crochet fan. You can see we've got 5 rows of your fans, and they're all standing up there in this lovely 3D effect. Okay, so for your slip stitch border, you're going to make a slip stitch into each single crochet across the top, which is going to be a repeat of row 3. So it's these single crochet, then chain space of 3. Okay, so that's when you're working into. You make 3 slip stitches into each chain space, slip stitch into each single crochet. Okay, do that for the top and the bottom. So you'll have 79 stitches on long ends. The short ends, you can see we end up with this, it's going a bit diagonally, but don't worry, it'll all come right when we join. It's just the way these fans are fitting together. So this gets a bit more complicated. Into row 1 you make 1 slip stitch, row 2 is 2 slip stitches, rows 3, 4 and 5 1 slip stitch, row 6 2 slip stitches, rows 7, 8 and 9 is 1 slip stitch, row 10 2 slip stitches, and row 11 is 1 slip stitch. So you'll have 14 in total coming down the side. Okay, it's a bit of a funny way it works out, but that's half double crochet for you. Okay, so once you've done that, you can weave in your ends and join it to last week's piece. So I hope you enjoy that stitch, and I shall see you next week for week 39. Bye for now.